And so the Tibetan Buddhism, and if you wish, is the crown of the religions. And that's the reason why it incarnated on the roof of the world. High in the Himalayas, in that cold desert, that sort of windswept place, that's where the yogis went to gain enlightenment, the roof of the world. And that type of abstract, spacious consciousness is the type of mind that all that wish to obtain enlightenment must develop. Now, there's the problem, of course, is that we don't live in the Himalayas. We don't live in that windswept landscape. We don't breathe rarefied air. We don't live in the caves that the yogins live in, away from everyone. I can remember my last life living in a cave, and there was snow everywhere. Of course, it was a cave, freezing in the Himalayas, of course. I only wore one cloth, and it was my greatest joy to see the snow. There was no, the tumo, the yoga of the psychic heat was just normal. And it wasn't just yogis, it was often developed by many, many beings. There's lots of stories of yogis in Tibet and having tumo, yogis being able to sit in the snow and melt the ice around them with body heat. Of course, that's something that with modern day science is impossible, but for yogins, it's a different story. But what I'm getting to, of course, is you're not there. You're not in the caves. So you don't even have the luxury, except for those our sisters and brothers in the monasteries, of living in a monastery. You've living in a Western materialistic society, in your room, surrounded by materialists. When you go out in the streets, you have to deal with materialists, you have to deal with dull consciousness, you have to go shopping and all of those things that they didn't have to do. Basically, as a yogin, you meditated. Occasionally you go and you look for some food, but then you went and meditated again. But what I'm getting to is that yogin mind, that awareness that the yogins obtained, is what we're trying to achieve in you. Despite all the drawbacks, despite all of the hardships of living in a materialistic society, lack of money and having to worry about those sorts of things, and all the other problems of distractions everywhere. Television set, internet, whatever, people around you, gossiping, family, friends, distractions. You've got to deal with these distractions. And so at the same time, trying to live your spiritual life. At the same time, working out your karma. At the same time, cleansing that karma. And this has been the challenge for hierarchy, is to work out how to educate you. And now I have the challenge, not just of, if I had a monastery around me and all of you in the monastery, it would be so much easier. We could all be nice monks, living out our precepts and so forth, but we're not even in one place, we're all over the world. And again, that's another challenge. And it's overcoming these challenges and at the same time producing the awakening within you. That is your challenge, my challenge, and hierarchy's challenge, if that makes any sense to you. So this particular methodology that we're using is what the hierarchy calls the princely way, and the other way is the kingly way. The kingly way is the way of the yogin in the Himalayas, sitting in the cave and having very few distractions and gaining the enlightenment. That's wonderful. a joyous state of existence, much, much better than this Western world that we live in, much more sane lifestyle. And of course, then they develop their tumo, they evoke their kundalini, and they deal with decades or 2 decades or 3 decades of having a repel psychic attack and gaining their enlightenment. But so that's quite straightforward. The princely way actually is it's a longer journey, and it's what you are following. Or the princessly way if we're talking about women. So this necessitates more years to be added on to your path, because hierarchy have to take into account the distractions. And you can't be awakened that quickly with the kundalini fire as it was with the yogin, because the yogin could be focused 100% on channeling the energies within his or the yogini, her psychic body, and no distractions. There's the cold mountain air, the cave outlet, maybe a fire sometimes going, but that's it. So you understand the process, therefore, is longer. The process is more smoother and has to take in other factors. With the yogic way, many aspects of past karma can't be cleansed. See, all of us have had all types of karma. Masses of relationship karma, masses of sex karma, masses of DB karma, even magical karma, and so forth. And the yogin is just busy working upon him or herself, their particular path, their awakening. The karma, very little is there to be cleansed. That must wait for another life. So the yogin sits in his, or the yogini in their cave, or in Tibet, for instance, they often sort of wall up a room and they put a little space there, and the person that is in retreat in Tibet, even nowadays they still have it, it's 3 days, 3 years. I mean, 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days of retreat, walled up in this little space, and only food is given to them. And then they do their rituals, their mantras, their obeisances, and they spend nearly all their time in meditation. And some of them just have little cubicles. They don't even have a bed or any place to lay in, because they're supposed to sleep while they're sitting cross-legged. It's an extreme, austere methodology, which the Buddha tried many years ago, many lifetimes ago, of course. And he found that that type of extreme methodology did not work. There was the yogin's yogi. He extreme celibate, extremism. You get pictures of him with the skin on his bones, just bone and skin, and that type of extreme sort of austerities doesn't work. It's not the method. He then taught the noble truth and noble middle way. So you are an exemplification of this middle way, trying to live it in this materialistic society. And so the middle way is different for everyone, for every unit of consciousness. Wherever we are, we have different needs, different societal structures around us. And we are not to become super rich or too poor. We're to try to find this middle way that is comfortable enough so that we can do our oblations, our rituals and so forth, to survive in the material world and play our role there, and at the same time do our meditation.